Welcome back, everybody. My name is Darren. Appreciate you coming. We're going to finish up the bottom of this today and get this part over with. Got a few other things to work on while it's tilted up like this, and then we'll get her flipped back down. Finish up some body work. I know this isn't your favorite camera, but it's my favorite camera, so I'll switch off with you sometime. Got a lot of moving to do, so I thought I'd use this one. All right, let's get started. I was going to do one of these cab supports with go figure. As soon as I started the video, my compressor kicked on. It's almost like it has to be that way. Sorry. So they were more difficult than I thought. There's a lot of put it on, take it off, fitment issues, and sneaking up on the right length so you don't cut something too short and create a bunch of work. So we'll go around. I'll show you each one. Maybe I'll even show you up close. But I don't think you care right now about up close. So let's just get to it. This first one, we'll start at the bottom left, bottom right. I don't know why I said that. This one, if I climbed under this truck, was trying to buy it, I probably wouldn't even know it was replaced. This one turned out awesome. It's all fixed to the floor real well. It's bolted to the inner rocker. It's not bent up. It's all straight and nice. This is a pretty decent part for this area. I did end up welding it to this washer and to the frame just to give it a little more bottom support. But once the rubber's on there, you won't be able to see that. So this would be where the body mounts go. But if you look closely, this particular cab support had a cutout in it. Don't know why. So I had to put a filler piece in there, and I have a weld right there where I filled it. I didn't want to grind it perfectly flat because this isn't like the part of the truck everybody looks at anyway. I'm worried about strength. But that one is 99% looks original. Up here, this is a nice one. I don't remember what brand it was. I bought 3 different kinds. I didn't love any of them, so I got nowhere to point on that. This one fit pretty good, and they've got this notch at the bottom, basically so it wouldn't be in the way from the body mount. So that's all welded in, top, bottom, side, whatever. And then I added an extra bolt here to the frame that the original one didn't have. Just, I don't know, more support. It's also bolted and affixed to the floor nicely, so that one turned out really good. I'll call it 95%. Over on this side, you really can't see. No, that's better. And if I block that light, you guys can see a lot more. We'll work with you. See, this camera I like better. I can change up a little bit. So on the bottom, this one I wasn't fond of either. We had a real good stub coming off the frame, and welding in around the frame on both sides is very difficult. Can't hardly reach in there. If you don't make a really nice weld, it's hard to grind. So I cut it short. You can see it, but it's full welded in. It's affixed to the floor nicely and bolted to the rocker. So that one turned out really good. This one, another case of good, but not great. This was an AMD part. It was a pretty decent part. I cut it off right at this frame support, if you want to call it that, and full welded that around. It looks really good, but it came shorter here, and I'm sure it's to let any water or debris wash out. The other ones just had a small area at the bottom to let the water out, which was sufficient. This one has the full length. That's fine too. All of these were brush coated with the undercoating inside and out. So there's no rust possibility here. The last thing I'm going to do is run my straw in there with fluid film and spray on the way out. I will show you guys that when I do it. The reason I'm going to go that last step is because when you weld this, whatever undercoating is on the inside, it's going to burn back. I don't know how far, it depends on how hot you got it, but it's going to burn back a little on each side. So I'd like to go in with fluid film and get that coated. Now, I saved part of this for you guys to watch. I should tell you, you could spray this on in, I don't know, 15 or 20 minutes. What I mean by 15 or 20 minutes is by the time you get out all your stuff, you spray this whole thing and clean your gun out, you're going to be 15 or 20 minutes. I've got an hour and a half into brush painting this. I think it's worth it. Quick story on why, and then we'll get this panel done together right here. I paint farm equipment, and it sits outside in the weather. And I've used the exact same paint with a brush, and I've sprayed it on. Two different pieces of equipment just to see which one lasted longer. The brushed on one lasts 10 times longer. I don't know why. I think it's because you work it in all the little grooves and parts. I believe in that. So, again, sorry about the flashy. If you've been around a while, you're probably used to it. I got a good microphone. You can't hear my heater. Everybody else can hear their heater. But I got to get a better camera. One of these days. And I didn't get my glasses. But it doesn't matter. You'll see what I'm doing. So this is a flat area. You got to dip a lot because you're using a lot. You pretty much brush it right on in a flat area that doesn't have a lot of all the undercoating that came with the truck or anything like that. Kind of goes on pretty quick. But when you get down to like some of these bumpier spots, if you just brush it on, I don't know if you can see, but if you brush it on, you're just hitting the high spots of all them bumps. And that's kind of when you spray it on, that's what you're doing. You're going to get some in the low areas. It's going to be okay. But when you brush it on, you can put some tar on like this, and then you can take your cheap brush and work it in circles. Get it down into all them little grooves. And after you get it kind of worked in, then you can brush over it, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 times, and make sure it's in all them nooks and crannies, and you have a good finish that'll stick. And you just do this for, hours. Are you in a hurry to get done with your job? You're in a hurry to get the fun over with? I'm not. I mean, you guys want to see the finished truck, and Tom wants to drive it, and I want to move on to something else. But my point is, here's a real bumpy area. Don't skip these steps. That's my opinion. Take the extra time. Know that when you get done with the project, you're not thinking back on it. I've done it. Think back on it and say, I wish I'd have done that. Now I can't really do a better job. Sure, you can lay on your back and try this, dripping in your face. Who wants to do that? All right, I'm not even going to bore you guys with the rest of that. You get the idea. Work it, work it. We just spent, 3 minutes doing this little spot. Let's move along to something else. That's what you're here for, to see something else. This, that, and the other thing. This bottom is done today. But while we got the truck tipped up like this, I'm going to bring you guys over here. We're going to deal with this. Get you in tight. We're going to show you what's going on in here. Yeah. So being that it's on its nose, right here where it's comfortable, I'm a little tall, but so you can see, where it's comfortable for me to reach and see, we have some issues here. And up in here, you can see the old color paint in these few spots. Well, I don't know what they did, if this was wet. The other side's over here. Oop, you lost me. Over here is, I don't know, it's bubbled, flaked, and rusty. Not bad, but a little bit. You might notice, and Sean pointed this out when he was here, if you can see this on TV or not, this edge right here has got some bumpy, rusty on the very edge. Some pieces, there's a little spot even missing here and there. I don't like it. I don't love it, but I'm not replacing it. That's a crazy amount of work, and it's not necessary. This is where the rubber slides on for your window, and that keeps your window from falling out. Your window's actually smaller than this. Sits inside the rubber the opposite direction. But this rubber goes on and seals all the way around, inside and out. The reason this got rusty is because that outside lip, the one that goes along this bottom part on the top of the truck, that went bad and nobody fixed it. So the water got in and got trapped in this area and settled down into this seam, which is your window seam. And that's what caused that rust. Well, we're going to fix that outside so it's not going to get wet again. And there's no place else for water to get in. It's going to stay dry. So we don't need to replace this. There's plenty of material still here. It's good and solid. It's going to hold the windshield and be fine. The last thing I'll do, and we'll talk about this when we get to the window, so I won't bore you too much now, is this rubber that goes on, I'm going to fill with Vaseline. So that's after it's painted and coated and everything's done, I'm still going to fill it with Vaseline, not allowing an area for water to get to. And that is never going to rust out again. Furthermore, in these holes on the side, which is for your visors, there's one on the other side, It's the same one. And you have some small holes here for your rear view mirror. I can sneak in from this side and get almost to the center and undercoat this from the inside. I'll use fluid film. Same with the other side, and then in the middle, I can fill the center. That's never going to rust again, so no concerns. But while we've got this tipped up, this action is a lot easier for me to do than upside down up here when the truck's someplace else. And I can spend and focus on these bubbles and why they're there. See, I just chipped that one off. I mean, it's a piece of soft, rounded wood. So they've got some areas that they painted over moisture or something, and it just comes right off. They didn't prep this, so it's going to make my job a lot harder. I'm going to have to double prep it. I got to take their paint and prep it down to the old paint and prep it for the new paint. We got some small rust up in this area you can't see. So this is going to be a lot easier, even though it's not super easy. At least I'm not working overhead on my shoulders. And then lastly, come around here, dealing with this lip we've talked about. Then I'm going to run you around some more because that's what we do. Being that this is right square in my face, easy to work on, I can come in here and focus on this seam. This is where the top mounts to this lip, which is on the inner. This needs to be really clean. Well, you can clean it other ways, but being right here in my face, it just makes it so much easier to get right down to the metal, make sure we've got everything out of there. I may even do a pre-treatment before I pour in my new drip rail, which will work fine. Some of these areas that have a little bit of gap, I might just put a tiny amount of seam seal on those just at the metal where it meets, and then put on our flow coat on top. So that's down the road, but at least we can work on some things that are right in our face. Speaking of another one, we're going to take you back around to the dark side of the truck. That's kind of an Ozzy thing there. I always, you know how I am. I always bring up some Ozzy TV, radio, music, something. By the way, Ozzy's going to do a final tour, like for real final, if you're into Ozzy. I think he's doing it with Black Sabbath. Pretty cool stuff when I was a kid. But I believe Ozzy's in a wheelchair now. But either way, his wife says his voice is perfect. He has Parkinson's, so they want to do a final tour before he loses it completely, which we're all gonna. Let's just face it. Enough about that. I have this area here, kind of a little bit of rust there. I'm gonna rust convert that while it's in my face. And then I have this cab corner that we did earlier that I haven't finished the body work on. So while it's up here, I'd like it a little lower, but it's better than being upside down. Double check the bottoms on the rockers, which I've already done. You guys know that. But just to make sure, this one's got some stamping ripples. I didn't notice, but I can feel them. I don't know that I'm going to put any filler down here because you're asking for trouble. This is the bottom of the rocker where all the stone chips come. And you can't see it, so I'll see how far the stamping marks go. If they're below this ridge, I'm not going to monkey with them. I'd rather have a little bit of wavy paint where you can't see it than I put a bunch of filler down here where it's going to get chipped off. There's your options. You can't metal finish it because it's on the truck. I didn't notice it before, but to be honest, I probably wouldn't have done it anyway. We'll hit this with some sandpaper. We'll use a little bit of filler primer just to kind of maybe get those ripples out. But that's probably going to be my next project. But for today, I'm going to work on, that undercoating. I'm almost done. I did it for 2.5 hours. You guys want to watch it for 5 more minutes? Or do you want to watch me mix up some body fill and start on that? Yeah, I can't hear you. So I'm going to do what I do. Just keep doing this. It's fun, right? Lots of fun. Just keep doing it like this. Do it like that. You get it. I got to have glasses, though. I do all that. I'm faking it. I can't see a darn thing. And I left them where? Oh, naturally. Never lose my glasses except when you guys are here. I've got 2 pair for crying out loud. All right, I'll just grab these. I probably got more than 2 pair. I probably got 4 or 5 out here. This is just part of doing an old truck. I'm excited about my next one. You guys are thinking, what do you mean your next one? This one's not even close to done. Well, it's closer than you probably think. Well, closer than I think you think. At any rate, my next truck, I don't, by the way, I don't know if you guys ever noticed, but I don't really name my vehicles inanimate objects. Sure, animals. Not even fish. Well, they're all called fishy. You're fishy, fishy. All right. So I don't name my trucks other than today we're working on a 1968 C10 in bright white. It's a description, not a name. And the next one, I don't know. Next one is going to be a patina truck. I don't know what year it is, but we could come up with a name for patina. Katina. Anyhow, I don't name trucks. But I really look forward to doing a patina truck, and it's going to be budget. I haven't done a budget build because, quite honestly, it's not my thing. Not my jam for the most part. And yes, those of you that know me, Reggie, Sean, Tom, Jeff, who else? I don't know, there's a bunch of you. You'll know that I can't just do a budget build without still doing all this old guy stuff. Even if I'm going to sell it, I'm never going to see it again. I don't care if it lasts 30 years. Yeah, I do. Can't help myself. You could say, well, it's the right thing to do. It's not the reason. I just can't help myself. People buy stuff, they buy, they can look it over and decide if that's the way they like it. Nothing wrong with that. I just would I'd like to put my name on these trucks somewhere. I've never done it. Put my name somewhere on these things, hidden. Maybe someday, and a date. Maybe someday some kid will come along 35, 40 years from now when we can burn gas again. And he'll find that name and think, man, this thing's been around a long time. Good work. I'm almost done. Check it out. Didn't take as long as you think. Working in all them little grooves. It's good exercise, too. You're stretching, you're bending. Patina. Yep. It's going to be a red truck with a black underneath primer. Patinaed all throughout. I'm getting it all figured out in my head. Some of you guys will probably do the same thing. Haven't bought your vehicle yet. Just watching to see what to do and what not to do. Or in a lot of guys' cases, watch my show to see what not to buy. Don't buy anything that has terrible amount of work to do. Hey, look, see, it didn't take that long. You got somebody to talk to. I mean, you guys are good listeners. You don't interrupt me or anything. I appreciate it, but a little input would be nice. I'm just teasing. Then I go back and look if there's any place that I might not have got full penetration into all the little spots, nooks and crannies and crevices. And there you have it. The bottom of the truck is done, and you were here to watch it. Another thing about this, you're not wasting a bunch of money. For you cheap guys like me, take an old glove that you've used 25 times to do this. It's tar. You don't dry quickly. Yeah, I don't usually do that. And then I usually do this. All right. Then you take your paintbrush, just put it in there to the side, get her all wrapped up, and that brush will last months and months and months. So there's the end of that. Bottom complete. All right. You guys are here. You're watching. You keep hanging out. I'll keep working. Let's go back over here because I kind of want to do some of this, but I got that tar on my thumbs. You know what a bad idea that is? You get tar on your thumbs? No, we got flash. You do. Well, whatever. I can't do a lot of work because I'm afraid that will get on my paint. Rub it off. I'm really curious about some of this stuff. I'm going to use a power sander to keep everything flat. But in the meantime, while you guys are here, I'm going to just check out some of these. Oh, we should talk about this. Dang it. See, I forget good stuff. Let's go back here for just a second. Yeah, you can see good enough there, right? All right. So what I'm using here, while my air compressor was on, I'm using this die grinder. These things are pretty cool. 90 degree, you heard them. You know, one of them. But they make, yeah, flap discs for them. And I thought that I got to try that. They just screw on. Yeah, easy. Okay, well, trust me. The face is important. But they're a flap disc. They last a lot longer and they take off a lot more metal. I like them. But just a little noise real quick. Compressor's off, so you ain't gonna worry about that. We've got some weld right here. Don't have any anywhere else. So we're just gonna knock that off real quick. You don't want to push hard, just let it do the work. And then up in the face. Wow, those are hard welds. Must be MIG. That's pretty good. A little more. I don't want to do any more. We'll just use a little. Did I say I'm not going to do any more? Just a touch more. We'll use a little body fill on that. All right, I'm done. Just to make it nice and smooth. Again, it's behind the truck, between the truck and the box, so you're never going to see it, but I can't help it. Got to do it. Good tool. If you got a compressor, that's a good tool. Well, I might as well do that. You guys know how this is played. Got to get that rust converted anyway, so we'll grab a little rust converter. For those of you that are new here, this is what I use. This is the brush on stuff. I never dip and brush in the bottle. Again, you old guys know, because you're going to contaminate your bottle with rust. Get an old can. I don't care. Use whatever you want. But just get an old, I don't know, soup can will work fine. Just something so that you're not contaminating your original bottle of rust converter. Something I didn't mention, because I'm a brush on kind of guy. Sometimes you're going to have to spray in these nooks and crannies that you can't get to with a brush. You're going to have to force some undercoating in those holes. Just have to. And do what you got to do. Just a cheap little chip brush. You get that, hit that converter. We're going to sand off most of this, because this will leave a layer. But where it soaks into the rust, you'll see if you're here when I do it. Where it soaks into the rust, it won't sand off. Just the way it works. And you can use spray on this stuff too. It works. But you know, I'm a brush guy. What can I tell you? Yeah, good enough. This is now again. I'm reaching above my head. I wiped all this down. I could jump on a step stool or something, but I'm only going to be here a few seconds. This is there's a little brush bristle. Yeah, happens to everybody. Just put a little on there. I'm not going to chance it rusting through my paint. You know, of all things that you can do to give yourself a little better paint job, a little better body work, whatever it is you can do it. I don't think anybody that hires me was expecting a professional, top quality $1 million. That's a joke, but it's getting close to $1 million anymore. But a $10,000 paint job. But you want whatever paint you put on to stick. Starts flaking off. It would be like an old GM, or Ford did some old crappy primer they had. We're gonna go around to the front now that I got this out. Whoop, and yep. Made 2 full circles today, folks. I wanna get up in there and get these every little spot of this front. And you know, guys know I've been around. You've watched me. I already did this once, but there's a few spots that just have rust color. They're smooth, but if it looks like rust, I'm using the old converter on her. Not going to chance it. Like I said, if you're putting it on areas that don't need it, you're going to sand that off anyway. But I want to make sure. Yeah, 5 minutes of making sure here, 5 minutes of making sure there. Yeah, I know. That's why everything takes so long. I'm not the Speedy channel. You guys come here to watch the intricate details of how to do something really good. I don't want to use the word great and all that. I'm perfect. My point is, I just take the extra time, take the extra steps. No guarantees any of this will even work. But you got to try. You got to do everything possible. Well, I don't know if I do everything possible, but within reason. How about that? Within reason. That's it. That's what I do. Now you know what I do. You're sitting around thinking, well, what's Darren do? Well, this is what Darren does. Just about every day. Not quite, but almost. Yeah, I know. I'm right square in your way. I get it. Oh, I just found another spot to show you. When you come in here, again, you can do more than's necessary. It's okay. I hate to move you guys again, but this lip has come loose. I don't think you can see that. This is an interesting one you might run into. Yeah, I know you guys gotta be motion sick by now. So, if you know what you're looking at, window, my chin. This is where the windshield goes. It's your visor hole where your visor bolts in. So this is the top of the door, and it angles to the front wing window of the door. Well, right here on this upper lip, this would be the lip, the trough the water's in under here. This piece here has come loose. The spot well's broke. Again, I don't know how close I can get you guys to that. The spot weld is broke right here. Can you see? I think you can see. You can see a little bit. This outside edge. See, now I put my pointer down. I got to get it. Because this is going to be a fun one. If you run into something like this, you think, well, where can I find that on YouTube? I don't know if you can. So the piece of metal ends right here. And it's a 90 degree or about 90 degree angle for this upper lip. And then this is about an inch wide. And it's spot welded in here to the roof sandwich part. And evidently rust gotten in there and broke this one weld at the end. Well, I vibrated on it with my vibrate descaler. I've hammered on it. I've got all that rust out best I can. I'm not peeling this thing off the whole truck because I got one broken weld. That ain't going to happen. But what I want to do, I thought about putting some seam seal in here. Well, that don't hold real good. And I thought about body panel in here. Well, I can't get really a lot in there. Wouldn't trust it. So before I top seal it, I'm going to drill a hole here in the bottom, and we're going to clamp it just above it and weld that back in to hold that lip on. Then we can clean the rest of this garbage up, seam seal, and do whatever we got to do. So that's up and coming. Well, you guys want to watch? Well, I don't do a lot with you guys because I don't want to bore you, but I probably got a drill right here. If I know me, I got a drill right here handy, right next to the glasses that I lost. You know, I can switch out to the glasses I like. So what size drill do I use? I don't know. Just jump in here to the drill drawer and grab one. This one's probably a little big. A bigger drill will give you more weld. I'm not too worried about warpage in this area because it's all got to be dealt with anyway. What I want to do, right on this edge, and only drill through this piece of metal, not the piece of metal under it. Well, when I push on it, it's going to put me close. So we're back to showing you tricks and stuff that I do that just take time. I'm going to use my pointer. No, it's too thick. I'm going to use a paint mixer, a mixing stick. And they make them different thicknesses. I generally try to get the thick ones because, you know, they're better. But on occasion, you might want a thinner one. You can also use, I don't know, what do they call those? Shims, if you're a woodworker and work on stuff. Anyway, you just want a gap in there for your drill bit. That'll work. I'm going to drill through just that piece of metal into that wood stick if I can. You hear it getting close. I slow down because it might bite. I'm pushing quite firm. Now you can stop early with a big drill bit, but you're going to have that paper thin metal in there. Probably not a good idea to do that. If you want to have a smaller hole, use a smaller drill bit. There I went through. I touched the top, but pretty good size hole, probably bigger than I needed. I don't have a clamp right here and I'm not going to make you wait. But now we can clamp that right up tight and full weld that in. So that'll be a good plug weld. It's going to hold that lip. I don't know if you can see it moving, but that's how I'm going to fix that. And then, of course, we can body fill or whatever we got to do up here. It's a pretty dry area. It is outside the truck, but there's that. Now I got all that rust converter out and no place to put it. Well, we finished up the bottom. This is your last look at the bottom for a while because there's really no work necessary to be done on it. We got it all finished up. We're going to flip it back down after I fix some of them areas I showed you. We'll flip it back on its proper position and we'll start working on the top because once I put this on the truck, the top's going to be harder to access because you're going to be straddling the motor. Or in the back, you don't have a box on it yet, so I'll have to put a plywood board down. It just becomes more cumbersome. So I'll work on the top while it's on the lift. I can raise it up, lower it down, put it where I want. That's probably what we're going to do next week, now that we got this done. Do a little body work, do a little sanding, I'll show it to you. If I run across anything that's interesting or unusual, I'll bring it up next week. Thanks for coming. We'll see you guys in a week. We're getting closer every day. It won't be that long. Have some patience with me. A lot of work needed to be done, and we did a good job of it. That takes a little longer. Again, thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in a week.